Good evening, everybody. We're so happy to be here with you. We hope you're logging on and sharing this with your friends because tonight I am going to interview Mr. Jesee Norfleet. He is a 50K affiliate with HempWorks. He is my brother in Christ, and he has an amazing story to tell. So I am so honored and grateful for you and Mindy. And it's just been such a pleasure getting to know y'all over the last, 18 months, kind of? About that long?
Been a year. It was a year last convention when we finally met you.
Yes. We were Facebook friends, but we actually met in person last year. And let me tell you, whenever you meet people that you know that God has put you in a relationship for a reason, there's so much to say about that. It's just a wonderful thing. So Jesee has an amazing story. Most of you watching this know Jesee as a 50K affiliate and that he is out ripping the roads with his RV and his beautiful bride, living the dream. I just really living the dream. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about something else with Jesee that you may not know, that you need to know, because you may have someone in your family that is struggling in a various area of addictions. And Jesee has been very transparent, very open, and willing to talk about his struggle because he wants people to know there's hope. Somebody put that in the chat stream. Now we're broadcasting here on the Keys to Have Best Life, so we're not seeing all the chats, but we will go back and answer your questions and look at them later. We appreciate and value your time. But somebody think about that for a moment. If God can use Jesee, God can use me. He can use you, and there's just so many amazing things that could take place. So, Jesee, I'm going to give you a few moments to tell the viewers about your breakthrough story, your recovery story, basically whatever it is. This is September, which is Recovery Month, and we're all very open. I've got my own story. You guys know I'm very transparent about that. So Jesee, tell us about your breakthrough story, the redemption story that you have.
I appreciate you having me on here with you tonight, Maggie. And yes, I too am very transparent about my road that I've been down, all the way from the darkest years, all the way into the sunlight. And I'll tell you something, Maggie. I've been through 7 treatment centers. I put my family through a living hell. Excuse my language, but I'm speaking to all the sisters out there, the brothers, the moms, the dads, the grandparents, the friends, the aunts, the uncles that are that have an addict in the family and don't quite understand. Well, I'm here to tell you from an addict's perspective and a recovery and coming out the other side and walking in complete sunlight and freedom from those addictions. So I love sharing all the way to the very core of my being. And I ask that before I share stuff like this, that I ask that God speak through me so folks can hear the message instead of the messenger.
Yes.
I'm very open, and I allow God to just channel through me. And sometimes some of the things that come out of my mouth surprise me as well, because when I start sharing from my heart and my soul, it's incredible. I start to tremble. And I've shared this message on stage several times in front of hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. And I'll tell you something, to be able to walk up and talk about some of the things that I was most ashamed of, some of the things that I swore I'd never allow or see the sunlight of day. I believe those things defined who I was as a human being. Share a little bit of my story. I grew up in an alcoholic home. My parents were both alcoholic. My mother married alcoholics, and it seemed as her illness started to progress, the choices that she made men were even worse. But I've got complete peace with all of that as well. And and what it really came down to is me owning up. I dropped out of high school my ninth grade year in high school. I had a lot of darkness inside me that seemed like drugs and alcohol were the answer. Because I did not like the way I felt. I'd been molested as a child. That was the one thing that I swore I'd never hear, would speak of openly. But the reason I speak of it openly is because I know there's viewers out there right now that have that in their closet and maybe hindering them with a closer relationship with not only God but their loved ones as well.
Yes.
I've done a lot of things I'm ashamed of. I've done a lot of things that a normal human being would not do to people that love him. I've brought a lot of shame, and I told myself as a practicing addict that I wasn't hurting anybody but myself. It's my life, and I can do what I want with it. But everyone that loved me was being touched and harmed by my behavior. And I'll tell you something. I hit my knees, age 33, living in my mom's front yard, completely addicted to methamphetamines. I wanted to stop. I was court ordered to stop, and I couldn't. And I thought it would be easy. And anyway, to make a long story short, I entered into this drug court program, and I thought it was going to be easy. I thought, well, I've been in recovery before. I'll jump through some hoops, and I'll go back to doing what I've always done. I've been a drug dealer all my life, and back to the streets I go. I'll play their game, and I had to stay clean for a while, and I couldn't do it. And so I failed miserably out of drug court. And as a last hope, Judge Thompson was going to send me to a treatment center, number 7. And it was a 9-month program. And I got kicked out of there for doing something I wasn't supposed to. I was messing around, trying to attach myself to this girl. And you know, I used relationships and sex and alcohol and drugs and hallucinogenics, whatever I could get my hands on, to take me away from the way I felt as a molested child, as an abused child of an alcoholic family. I'm not a victim, but I had to come to peace with it. And 33 years old, living in my mom's front yard in a camp trailer, I hit my knees and said, God, either help me or kill me. If you really exist, help me or kill me. I don't want to live anymore. And 2 weeks later, I ended up in that treatment center. And something happened to me in that treatment center, even though I got kicked out of there. I was walking down the streets of this city, and I'm thinking to myself, no one, Jesee, you've made a mess out of your life, and nobody to blame but me. I couldn't blame my alcoholic parents. I couldn't blame somebody who molested me. I had to take ownership of my garbage. And once I came to terms that no one is responsible for the mess I'm in other than myself, Jesee Norfleet right here, I wasn't going to proceed forward. I wanted to stay clean so bad, and I finally was able to. And I believe it's the work of God that loved me and carried me through, because it says in my book that I read, another book that I read, that not the Bible, that no human power could have cured me of my issues. Okay, and I believe that to be true, because I hit my knees and I was broken, and I said, God, and I was bawling, I was weeping for my soul. And I can honestly say it'll be 19 years next month that I've had any alcohol or methamphetamines. And I'll tell you something. It seems like the more I've spent 33 years of my life being a taker, taking from people, stealing, doing this stuff that drug addicts do, even stealing from my loved ones. That's where my illness took me. And to be able to walk through becoming willing to go to any length at all to change my life, I started talking about being molested. That is where the freedom came from me, because every time I'd go into a treatment center, I swore I'd never talk about that, so I didn't. Is that the reason I went back out and started drinking and using, doing drugs again? I don't know. But when I became willing to say, okay, God, I'm willing to lay it all out. And here I am on a live video talking about it. You want to talk about complete freedom?
On the World Wide Web.
And you know something, Maggie? I'll tell you something. God has done something in me that I just want to share it with the world. When I was in that treatment center, number 7, I was whining because everybody was going home for Thanksgiving but me. I was still on blackout. And I ended up going down to, the coordinator of the treatment center goes, come on, Jesee, you're going with me. And we went down and we served homeless folks meals on Thanksgiving Day. And in Pendleton, Oregon, on Thanksgiving, it's like in the low 20s. And there's people outside. And I'm complaining because I don't get to go home, and I got a warm place. God started working me over, and something happened to me. And when I was serving those homeless folks those meals, it just made me feel like, what? It felt good to be of service. So I started, working with new guys that are struggling with addictions, working with new guys that are struggling with relationship issues, working with new guys that are just struggling with life. And all I have to do is share an experience of a vehicle of getting myself away from that lifestyle. And it took everything in me and everything that I could muster to say, God, show me the way. And I turned myself in after getting kicked out of that treatment center because I knew I was looking at prison time for being busted with methamphetamines. And it was my last shot, and I blew it. So back to Prineville I go. Called the judge's secretary, and I said, listen, is there any chance I could stay here in Pendleton and get a job and stay out of trouble and try to do better? She goes, no, you got to come back and turn yourself in. I was like, it's going to take some courage. So I did it. And, that was the first time Judge Thompson had ever heard me basically take ownership for my garbage. And I said, and the DA goes, Mr. Norfleet hasn't taken any of this stuff seriously. He's gotten himself kicked out of drug court. He's gotten himself kicked out of the treatment center. And we're recommending 18 months in prison and OSP. Judge Thompson looked over the top of his glasses at me. He says, Mr. Norfleet, you got anything to say? And I just took a deep breath and I prayed before I went in there. And I said, yes, Judge Thompson. I said, you believed in me and I blew it. And it's kind of an emotional thing to talk about. And I blew it. And the only thing that's going to show you I'm serious about recovery is time. And if it means I got to do it in prison, I'm willing to do that for the things I got caught for and the things I didn't get caught for. And I looked at the DA and I said, something, there's not a prison you can put me in that's worse than the prison I put myself in through my addiction and the drugs and the alcohol. But I'm willing to take responsibility. And Judge Thompson looked over his glasses at me again. And he said, Jesee, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I walked out of there with 1,000 hours community service and a bunch of fines. But you know what? It was an uphill battle. I had 1,000 hours of community service, but I went into that thinking, you know what? I have to do this in order to be free. And I did all those hours. I completed everything they wanted. I grabbed, and every time I had the opportunity to go back and work for a company that I got fired from because of my drinking and stuff. And every year I would take a coin for 1 year being sober and stuff. Well, I'd send one to Judge Thompson along with a letter. And I had a felony on my conviction on my record because I didn't complete the program. And then year 2 came, I sent him a coin, another letter telling him how I was looking forward to working my way up into management with the company I was fired in. Year 3, year 4, same thing. And he finally wrote me back and he said, Jesee, I want you to know something. I use your story in drug court all the time. And he told me how proud he was of me, and he dropped my felony to a misdemeanor. And I worked my way into management.
I'm not supposed to be crying.
It's all right. You know what? Raw and real. People need to see reality. They need to see emotion. They need to see a man cry. They need to see a man that can cry, because I always thought that men don't do that. And you know what? Real men do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
You know something? Anyway, I got into management with that company, and I was so fortunate. And I got asked to speak at a recovery rally in Prineville at the park. And I thought, you know what, anytime anybody asks me to do something like I'm doing right now with you, Maggie, I will honor it. I will pay it forward. And they asked me to be a speaker. And I was like, yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. So I did it. And a friend of mine, it was on the front page of the newspaper, speaker Jesee from Sacramento. And I went behind that stage and I prayed to God. I said, God, let the people in this park hear my heart, and hear your message, not my message. Let them hear you speak through me. Yes. And I stepped onto that stage with a microphone, and I looked into that community that I'd stolen shit from my whole life. And I made public amends. And I said, I just want you to know, as a recovering addict of this community, I owe this community an amends for my bad behavior. And I want to stand here accountable and say how sorry I am for what I've done in this community. And I'm here to make a difference, changing the lives of other addicts that are still suffering. And as I look out through that crowd, Judge Thompson was standing there. And when it was over, I went up to him and he's now Gary. He's no longer Judge Thompson. He's now Gary. And he's my friend. I have his phone number. We talk. My old PO's my friend. We talk about God. And, you know, a couple months later, after I returned back to Sacramento, I got asked to speak at Judge Thompson's, his retirement party. I'm talking, there was secretaries, the courthouse people, the governor of Oregon was supposed to be there. He wasn't able to make it. The fire department, the police station. I mean, I'm looking at cops and it had me at gunpoint. Lawyers, district attorneys. And you know what? I made it about him. And I told him, and I stood up there to honor him and say, you know what, Judge Thompson, there's a very good chance that I'm standing here before you today, a sober and clean man, because you believed in me until I could believe in myself. And I wanted to thank you for making a difference in my life. And that's where this thing's gone. I just look for ways to serve, because it seems like I feel the best about who I am when I'm giving back. Whether it's in, you know, praying for people, sharing a message of hope, talking about being molested and what to do about it, because that's where the freedom came. I didn't know that I had to do something. I just know that I'd been molested and I didn't want to talk about it because I was afraid it defined me as a man. Once I opened that up and said, I am willing to talk about that, I also was offered solution. What do I do? What do you do to someone that, you know, that you're harboring these feelings of something that was done to you as a child? I'm here to tell you that forgiveness is the key.
Yes.
And it started with me praying for that person that had molested me. And it was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I started praying for him for the things I wanted for myself, which was peace of mind, a clean heart, to be forgiven. And chances are that it happened to that man too.
Yeah.
So once I was able to forgive that person and my mom, and, you know, I live in freedom. I live in complete peace. And all I want to do is show others how to get there.
Wow. Jesee, it's a remarkable testimony of the goodness of God. And, you know, so many times people give up on people. You know, they're like, oh, 3 rehabs, 5 rehabs. You know, you're saying you went to 7 programs before you got freedom. Pull Mindy over in this picture here. Pull her over here. Come here, Mindy. I'm sorry. I know I told you I would get you later on a broadcast. But, you know, listen.
Grab your chair.
God had a plan for the 2 of you. Y'all, this is Miss Mindy Norfleet, and she is precious. She is precious. And Mindy, I just want to share this with you because we were in Indianapolis, Indiana, having dinner, and my sister was chatting with you, and we kind of felt like you were there with us and stuff. But I want to say, Jesee said something that was really, it's such a beautiful thing in your honor. And he talked about you, Mindy, and how after all of those things that he had been through, how God blessed him with you. And so many times in our lives, for those of you that are watching, you think that I could never be on the other side of this. I mean, if you've seen Jesee and Mindy, and many of you from HempWorks have seen them, you would never know the struggle that he went through to be the man that he is today and the husband he is to Mindy. And they've become such a dynamic duo, and they're living the dream. Look at this. They're so cute. They're so cute. They're living the dream. I told them I want to I want to interview them later on about tips on how to work when you're working with your spouse, because a lot of people don't understand, you know, they're doing life together, but they're also doing their business together. So here's Jesee, 19 years. Is that what you said, Jesee? 19 years? 19 years free from addiction. Okay. Now, he was just content and fine going on about his married work in management at his job. God restored everything. And then HempWorks happened to Jesee. So, Jesee, can you guys share about that journey?
Yes, we can. I'll be a chair, babe. You get good. Whew.
And that's, for those of you watching, that is how I know Jesee and Mindy. We're in business together. You know, they are crazy, awesome inspiration to me. We both are under the same team, and I'm just so thankful to have them in our lives, and especially in this business. So you guys tell us your HempWorks story.
All right, here we go. This is good.
Well, you can't really see there.
Scoot over a little bit.
Well,
can you come this way?
Okay, I'll see what you laugh.
There we go. Now we got it. Sorry, my hair. I've been wearing a hat all day. Anyway, I worked in that career with that tire company called Les Schwab Tire Center for 25 years, and it's all I knew from age 22. And my goal was to get into management, and I had my sights set on it because I'm one of them guys. If I set my sights on something, I go get it. So my biggest fear came to pass, and that's, well, what would happen if I can't do this anymore? You know, we all think that when we have a job or a career. I mean, what happens if I become disabled? What happens if something like that happens? Well, my biggest fear came to pass. They wanted to replace both my knees. I spent 25 years working on semi trucks and you know, a lot of time on my knees working on cars and trucks and stuff in the automotive industry. And they wanted to replace them both, and I told them no. I was just going to do the right knee. And we did the surgery, had it replaced, and now the left knee's taking all the weight the right knee can't take, and it was just brutal. And fear and pride literally kept me going the last year of that career. And I was fortunate enough to create a resume and find a company that picked me up as their general manager. And you know what I loved about management the most? I wanted to be the type of boss, if you will, that people were more worried about disappointing than they were afraid of. And
Good.
you know, I wanted my employees to love me, and I brought the best out in them. And anyway, to make a long story short, I still had knee issues. A guy named Steve introduced me to this stuff, and if anybody had introduced me to this other than him, I would have said no. Due to my stigma, I didn't want to be high on any pills, by gosh, so I don't want to be high on anybody's pot sauce. Just saying. He sent me home with it. He saved my life. He sent me home with it, and I felt obligated. I didn't even pay for it. He said, "We'll square up later after I get my results," which he knew I would. So I took it home, and I felt obligated to do what he said, and I just put the drops under my tongue twice a day, just like he said, like clockwork. Day 3, I woke up. I had no issues. I was like, "You kidding me?" And I thought I didn't believe it. I was like, "Nah, I'm just having a good day." I go down the stairs, which I normally had to hang onto the handrails because the pressure on my knees was so bad. No pressure. Day 4, same situation. Day 5, all right, I'm convinced. I'm in. So it was Halloween night. It will be 2 years. Mindy and I joined October 31st, 2017, when our company had only launched this product about 5 months in, and I just went all in. I looked my wife right dead in the eyes. I need to back it up just real quick. While I was a general manager, I got some lab results that freaked my wife out. Yes. I mean, bad. I mean, like, oh my gosh, my husband might die type stuff. And it wasn't, you know how we get. You know,
I didn't know about this part of the story. I know you guys well. I didn't know about this. Go ahead, share.
It freaked her out, and she called. I was on the phone with her, and she's like, "You know what, sweetheart? You're working this general manager job just like you did the other job, alcoholically. Because when I do something, I go at it full steam ahead." And she goes, "I don't care about fancy cars. I don't care about fancy houses. I just want you. I just want to travel." Is exactly what you said,
yeah,
huh?
That is.
She goes, "I just want to travel." And I was like,
that.
"All right, well, that's a cool dream. I don't know how we're going to pull that off." 2 months later, ta-da! Woohoo! I was in a vacant lot metal detecting when Steve Miller walked up on me. He was sitting in his truck talking on his cell phone. He saw it was me, got out, started talking. We started talking about this. And next thing you know, boom, we signed up. I looked my wife in the eyes. October 31st, 2017, I said, "Hold on tight. We're going to the top, babe."
Yeah.
It's been nothing but taillights.
We are.
So now we just want, and so after 5 months doing this part-time on my cell phone, I replaced the general manager job. So it's like, yay! We bought a big fifth wheel. We're sitting in our trailer right now. We're in Ely, Nevada. We've been traveling all over. And we share HempWorks everywhere we go. And in fact, I was in the store just a little bit ago picking up some blueberries for my wife. I'm wearing a shirt that says, "Ask me about CBD." Well, guess what? The checker asked me about CBD. So we run around creating little groups everywhere we go.
I love it. I love it. How many states have y'all been in? I know you've been in multiple cities. I see you all over the place. And I know that you spent a lot of time in Oregon. The other day, you were in New York. I mean, where have y'all been? I mean, it's like I wake up and I'm like, how did they pull that off? How many places have y'all been?
Yeah.
Well, it was him.
Yeah, it was just me. I took a road trip. I took a road trip with one of my metal detecting friends. We took a 1965 Corvette, body clear to Ohio, dropped it off, went to Boston, metal detecting, and then beeline back across the states. So,
Wow.
Yeah, Mindy and I are going to take off cross country, and we're going to go up toward Indiana and Tennessee this next spring.
Yes. Tennessee. For
Sure.
sure. Oh gosh, we're looking forward to it. Do you guys have Target month? Because I'll get some time off my calendar. We'll make it happen. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to just sharing love and you know what? I feel like I was groomed for this industry.
Yes.
Maggie, because I believe God's hand's all over in this.
I believe it.
I've had people that have come to our door down in Yuma that were hopeless.
Yeah.
I mean, hopeless.
Yeah.
And I started seeing this, I started paying attention when people start describing what they're going through. I start looking into their eyes. And this gal, she was on a walker, and her husband was standing there with his arms crossed, all defensive, like,
Yeah.
I told her, I said, you know what means more to me than making a few dollars off this bottle of oil is if you'd come back and tell me your testimony. Because you know something?
Yeah.
I live for that paycheck of the heart, and that's what those are to me, is that paycheck of the heart. And you know, this rank you guys are looking at, the 50K stuff, that goes to my heart, not my head. And if it wasn't for the team that I have, all I am is the quarterback. And I'll tell you something, I've learned to love more people in the last 2 years than I've spent, and then my whole life. And that's all I ever wanted as a child growing up, was just to have friends and family that I could truly say that I loved and loved me back. And I'm basking in it daily. I've got a wife that, you know, I wasn't ready for Mindy until I'd gotten some demons straightened out. And now I get to live a relationship with my wife that I wouldn't exchange for anything in this world.
Yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You know, I believe that God had her in waiting. And
Me too.
her. And you know, it's amazing whenever you see a couple that is so in love, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying I like me and my a long history, both struggle with all kinds of things, and God brought us together at the right appointed time. If He would have put us together years ago, we would have destroyed each other. And so God knew what He was doing when He put you all together. God knew what He was doing whenever He put this business in your lap. And you know what I can say about the Norfleets is they are inspirers, and they are motivating, and they're not, it's not like, oh, you're not on my team, so I'm not going to help you. These are people that I believe, you know, the word God tells us that we reap what we sow. And you guys are very giving. And I'm reminded of the story of, you know, whenever this last holiday, when you guys took a homeless guy off the street and got him, you know, a mobile chair, right? A wheelchair, and then made sure he was secure and everything. Stuff like that is what they're able to do because they have the freedom and the time to do life on their terms. So if you are watching this and you are thinking, am I supposed to get into this business? You need to pray about it, because we are an amazing team and we would love to serve you in any way we can. But the best thing that I love about this, you know, more than anything else, is I've gotten to get in a relationship with people just like this. And it's an amazing story. And Jesee, I'm so thankful that you are so transparent, because people get free. You know, most people that watch me are people that are, you know, they're watching me because of the biblical aspect of what I do. That, you know, and they're probably going, oh, there they go, talking about that hemp thing. You know, listen, coming from people that have been involved in that, the only way this would ever get you high is if hemp can only get you high if you make a rope out of it and climb a tree, right? Is that right?
I love it.
Yeah, it will not get you high. And so someone who struggled with addictions, you know, it changed his life. It's changed my life for sure, and the lives of many of my clients. You know, I love the fact that that the CBD oil is basically kind of resigning me as a counselor. I'm just saying, I'm still speaking and we're still working with teens and we're still, jail ministry. We're just still doing all these things. But a lot of my counseling clients that needed a breakthrough are getting results. And I'm not mentioning anything from them. Let's say this, let's put it this way. They were in a dark place and now they're not. Okay. Because we have to be very careful because of the FDA. But there's just tremendous things that can be done and said whenever you allow the Lord to work in your life, your business, and your marriage. And I'm so thankful. Is there any final words the two of you would like to add for the viewers? Mindy? Yeah.
She wanted to say something about, she had a lump she wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please. Tell us about the testimony.
Yeah, a couple months ago, we had discovered that I went and had a mammogram done and an ultrasound, and they said that there was a little tiny lump on my right breast. And so I opted against the biopsy and opted for the surgery. But then we found holistic alternatives, and we talked to a doctor, and he told us about thermography.
Yes.
So we went and had a thermography done. And
what about this?
what we did first for a month is we bought one of those big square bandages, and we put the CBD oil and relief cream on there and made a paste and put it on my right breast for about a month. And then we went and had the thermography done. It was gone. Nothing there. And it was,
we were
praise
scared.
God. We were so scared.
And we had all you guys praying for us too. And we had no fear. We just knew that God was going to pull us through this. We had no idea how. But I'll tell you what, when we were going through that, it was scary. And I had to stay strong for my wife. And I'll tell you what, there were some times there I wasn't feeling very strong.
I remember the phone call, and I remember the fear, and I knew that God was going to use his power in this product. He put this plant on the earth for a reason to help people. And that endocannabinoid system is no joke. And I have watched it do amazing things. And I cannot be it. I can shout from the rooftops how happy I am for the results. When I got that message first of all, when I found out that you were seeing a holistic doctor, I was like, praise be to God, Jesus, because you guys may or may not know I'm a cancer survivor, and so I get the whole doctors made me sick, and not intentionally, but the things, the medications and the treatments made me sicker than I was before. So I have always, for the last several years, tried to live a very holistic lifestyle. That's why I was so open to the CBD. And just that, my testimony was David Grunning, who is also, Steve Miller and David Grunning and those guys. I found David on the web because I was desperate and I was in pain. And I needed to see my grandkids, and I was tired of having injections in my spine. So I was like, I tracked it down, and he was smart enough to have the web domain CBD Oil Reps, because I thought I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna find out if I can get this for free and sell enough of it to get it free. And that's how most people come into the business. They're like, I want to get my product free, so I'm gonna sell my 3 bottles, get mine free. But I had no idea. And I believe that God is going to use this to launch our recovery high school. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of building the team. It's a matter of, getting the resources available. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're thinking, my goodness, it transforms Jesee and Mindy's lives. They're out living the dream in an RV and a beautiful truck, being able to have quality time together. And if you're looking at me going, wait a minute, she's able to do ministry full time now. It's just, you have to stop and think, what is God asking you to do? And if you are considering something, now's the time. I mean, this is an amazing product, amazing company with amazing people. I'm just saying, So hit us up. We would love to share with y'all. And I just love it. And I'm so excited for the two of you. Mindy, thank you for being very open to talk about that, because people need to know that there's hope. And that's what we are. You know, Jesee, we might have used to be dope dealers, but we hope dealers now.
That's right. Yeah.
And, you know, we might have been, now we used to, you know, we might have been more gangster, but now we're gospel.
I love it.
Well, I love you guys. I'm so thankful that the Lord put you in Hemp Work so that He could put you in my life this way. And Kevin and I are very, very thankful to have you as friends and colleagues in this business. And any final words?
We love you, Maggie.
We love you, Maggie.
Oh,
Yeah, I know this thing's just getting started with you and I. I just, it's in my heart. I know there's something more there, and we'll find out what that is, won't we?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Just your willingness to share your testimony, raw and real, you know, straight up, you know, it's going to help somebody. And, you know, the Bible says in the book of Revelations, it says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. The blood of the Lamb is Jesus, okay? And our testimony is powerful and it changes life. And by Jesee getting up in that park that day and speaking to those people and humbling himself, you know, I love in the book of James where it's, I'll get my preach on. I'm sorry. I'll get go. In the book of James, it talks about,
Yes.
He's talking about resist the devil and flee, but they forget about the scripture before that says, submit yourself unto God and then, you know, but then resist the devil and he'll flee. So Jesee did that. He humbled himself before God. He took accountability. He got real. He had to look at the man in the mirror. He had to take the areas of his life that was really, you know, weighing him down. He had to choose forgiveness over bitterness. And it literally transformed his life, gave him a wife, gave him a business, all this good stuff. It was just so exciting. So I tell you, I got to be careful. I was in the studio with my girl, Sarah Grace, today, and we were getting our preach on. So I got to be careful here. So thank you so much, you guys. I love you. I'm thankful to have you on the show. For those of you that are not aware, this is your Keys to Your Best Life. I will be broadcasting on Sundays, interviewing amazing people like Jesee and Mindy. And I'm just so thankful for you guys. Make sure you share this with your friends. Comment on the timeline. We'll go back and look at the comments on Facebook right now. We're not seeing them because we're streaming out of a different software, so I can use this video for extra purposes and so forth. I'm so thankful. God bless you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bless you,
All right,
Maggie.
we'll see you.
Bye. You guys hang on.